How could she
What?
do that?
That's
Didn't
crazy.
kill her too?
What?
Over a
That's
vape?
crazy.
Did you hear?
Wait. That's such an odd reason to kill your mom.
Is there ever a good reason to kill your mom? I mean, well, other than the obvious.
Okay, I feel like that's such an easy response though. Why would anyone ever kill blank? I get it's not exactly easy to put your feet in the shoes of a killer, but...
A killer, I think it's important to be specific here. Carly Gregg killed her own mom, and the reason why? I mean, come on.
My point was that Carly Gregg isn't your normal parent killer. She's not your Jennifer Pan or Sydney Powell. Those two really love that girl. No weird traumatic bullshit attached.
So you think...
I think Carly Gregg killed her mom and tried to kill her stepdad because, well, let me fill you in. Carly Gregg killed her mother with a .357 magnum gun. She shot her in the face 3 times before heading out of her room into the kitchen, hiding the gun behind her back away from view of the security camera that was located in the kitchen. The camera in the kitchen actually captures the moment she killed her mother. The silence followed by her mother's screams and 3 gunshots. Once back in the kitchen, she uses her mother's phone to text her stepfather, Heath Smylie, "When will you be home, honey?" seemingly with the intention to ambush him when he arrived. She then texts a friend to come over to show them her mother's dead body. This friend ends up showing up, and when her stepfather finally arrives, Carly attempts to shoot him too, but he's able to overpower her and take the gun from her. Carly and her friend run out through the back door, hop over the back fence, and run off in separate directions. And Carly is quickly apprehended by the police, still in the area. So now you have a basic overview of the story, but we're missing some important information. So let's go back and fill in some of these gaps. What happened on March 19th, 2024? What made Carly snap? Ashley Smylie was actually a teacher at the school that Carly went to. That day, one of Carly's friends had been worried about Carly's recent behavior. She was smoking marijuana, and whenever Carly was high, her behavior when she was high was so concerning to this friend that they went and they told Mrs. Smylie that day.
So the bubble popped.
Not exactly. You see, Carly had been seeing a therapist for about a year at this point for depression and self-harm. During her time in therapy, Carly affirmed that her mother and stepdad were good to her and that she had not been abused physically nor sexually, and importantly, that she did not hear voices. Ashley was well aware that her daughter Carly was troubled, and she had been doing everything she could to help her. She had been on antidepressants, which is a topic for debate, whether or not a 14-year-old should be put on Zoloft or Lexapro. Those were the things that Carly was put on. Unlike Jennifer Pan, for instance, Carly wasn't facing some insurmountable pressure from her parents to be perfect in school and to meet unrealistic standards. No, her parents, her mother, cared about her and just wanted her kid to be happy and safe. In fact, her therapist, Rebecca Kirk, actually stated Carly appeared to be smart and enjoyed school. The primary issue being addressed in therapy was her depression, which manifested in common symptoms like trouble sleeping, intrusive/disruptive thoughts, and being easily angered. This isn't to minimize depression, but it's important to note that Dr. Kirk reported that Carly had not been experiencing any suicidal or homicidal thoughts and wasn't experiencing any side effects from her medication.
Note, she had said that Zoloft made her feel like a zombie, which is a common side effect, but she was tapered off of it and put on Lexapro by her psychiatrist.
So back to that horrific day. Mrs. Smylie finding out about Carly's use of marijuana vape pens wasn't some earth-shattering revelation, just another thing that concerned her about her daughter's well-being. It didn't seem like the two had this big blowout argument about the vapes. Instead, when they got home, Ashley Smylie went to Carly's room and found the 4 boxes, which, side note, I'm reading my script, this isn't a part of the script. 4 boxes? 4 boxes of marijuana vape pens? Oh my god, oh my god, Carly was a stoner times 10. Oh my god. Mind you, okay, carts, bro, what? I digress. I just had to get that out because 4 boxes? Holy airball. Like, damn. I would be concerned too if my friend was puffing to the point where she had 4 boxes of vape pens in her fucking room. But back to it. So Ashley Smylie went to Carly's room and found the 4 boxes that contained vapes while Carly let the dogs outside. Mrs. Smylie took the 4 boxes to her room before returning to Carly's room to continue searching to see if there were more vapes. When Carly came back inside from letting the dogs out, she went straight to her parents' room and got the .357 Magnum gun that her mom kept under her side of the mattress for protection. After this, Carly walks into the kitchen, hiding the gun behind her back and peeking out to make sure her mom was still in her room. She then goes to her room and shoots her mom 3 times in the face with that Magnum gun. After brutally killing her mom, she calmly walks back into the kitchen, hiding the gun behind her back, knowing that there's a security camera in the kitchen. She deceptively texts her stepdad using her mom's phone, asking, "When will you be home, honey?" She then texts her friend, asking if they are squeamish of dead bodies, and invites them over to see her mother's corpse.
She also takes the kitchen camera and hides it in the refrigerator behind some water bottles.
Yeah, from here, the similarities to Sidney Powell's case start to fall apart. Unlike Powell, Carly Gregg didn't seem to have a plan for getting away with the crime. Not even some stupidly cobbled together plan. Instead, she waits with her friend in the house for her stepdad, Heath Smylie, to get home. To kill him too, I guess. So when Heath Smylie, her stepdad, arrives at the house, she sends her friend to wait in the backyard while she kills her stepdad. When Heath enters, Carly shoots him in the shoulder, but Mr. Smylie is able to grab the gun from her. And at this point, Carly runs through the back door, and with her friend, they take off in opposite directions. So they run out through the back door, hop over the back fence, and take off in different directions. Heath finds his wife, Ashley Smylie, dead in Carly's room and frantically calls 911. There was nothing that could be done for Mrs. Smylie, but Carly was arrested by police, still nearby. So at this point, Carly was charged with murder and attempted murder and tampering with evidence. She was offered a plea deal where she could spend 40 years in prison, but at a pretrial hearing, Carly, wearing a school uniform, told the judge she wanted to take the case to trial and was not accepting the plea deal. So now she's facing life in prison because she's being charged as an adult. Now, everyone wants to know why. Why did she kill her loving mother and try to kill her stepdad? Well, her defense attorneys argue that she was suffering a mental health crisis. We've heard it all before. Have we not heard this exact defense before? She was suffering a psychotic break. She had a schizophrenic break. Didn't Sidney Powell's lawyers try and say that too? Their expert witness, a psychiatrist named Dr. Andrew Clark, believes that a new medication for depression launched Carly into a spiral in the days before the shooting. He notes that her parents' divorce and the death of her younger sibling were aggravating factors that contributed to her mental decline.
Pause. You never mentioned that she had a sibling that passed away. That seems like a pretty logical reason why she might have developed such bad mental health.
I didn't mention her sibling's death because losing someone like a sibling could easily be the catalyst for severe mental health problems. But from what I could find, Carly was very young when her younger sister died. I'm talking like Carly was under the age of 5 when her younger sister died. Her sibling that she probably only vaguely remembers, if at all, dying doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would make her snap 10 years later and kill her mother. It didn't seem like it was still having this big impact on the family as a whole at this point, considering I had to find Ashley Smylie's obituary to even find any real mention of the sibling or how she died.
It's believed the kid passed away from spinal muscular atrophy, by the way.
Now, whether this had anything to do with Ashley's divorce from her ex-husband, Carly Gregg's biological father, who knows? But I feel like it's a bit of a jump to say that her sibling's death or even her parents' divorce were the reason she killed her mom, okay? A sibling's death from 10 years ago that happened before you were even really conscious, okay? Under the age of 5, like, don't you start getting, being able to retain memories after 5? So, hey, I digress. Whether or not there was some weird household stuff happening where, maybe there was still grief within the home, hey, I can't, attest to that. But from what I could find, it seemed like this wasn't something that the family was still heavily influenced by, if that makes sense. Now, back to the trial. Remember how I mentioned that Carly had a therapist and how that therapist stated Carly denied having auditory hallucinations? Well, she told Dr. Amanda Gugliano, the director of Forensic Evaluation Services at the Mississippi State Hospital, that she had been hearing one male voice since she was 5 or 6 years old. Carly stated that she heard the voice every single day, but it was always in the background, and she was able to tune it out. Gugliano stated that it's very unusual for a child to hear voices because it could, and this is a quote, she said, it could be their inner thoughts or inner dialogue, and they don't understand what that is. Carly said that the voices never told her to do anything, and they usually made snide comments about those around her.
No, Carly's attorney was also present during this meeting.
So before, she tells the therapist that she's been seeing for a year at this point that she never heard voices. Now, sitting in the hospital room with her attorney in the room present with her, she tells Dr. Gugliano that she'd been hearing voices since she was a little kid. Dr. Clark, the defense's expert, uses this and adds that Carly told him she had begun to feel depressed at the age of 9 and that she'd been hearing voices and feeling like the world wasn't real. He says that between the ages of 9 and 11, the depression continued and she started self-harming at the age of 12. She wrote in her journal a week before the shooting that she, quote unquote, thinks she had a psychotic break, and that she spoke with one of the voices in her head earlier that day, and that this was a regular thing.
Pause again. She wrote in her journal a week before the murder saying she thinks she had a psychotic break.
Sounds pretty bad, right? Like, maybe the insanity plea fits. Let me ask you something. If she had a psychotic break, don't you think that someone would have noticed? Active psychosis isn't really something that a person can hide from others.
Well, didn't her friend go to her mom because she was worried about Carly's recent behavior? What if that concerning behavior was her friend noticing she was in psychosis?
Valid point, but there's one problem with that. The day before the murder, March 18th, 2024, Carly had an appointment with her therapist. Someone literally trained to spot the signs of psychosis or severe mental illness. Dr. Kirk, her therapist, stated that Carly didn't appear different from any other sessions they had had and did not appear emotionally unstable or dysregulated. She had even gone through conflict management with Carly that day, the day before the murder. She said that she had only seen Carly with her mother in the waiting room that day and that there was nothing that would indicate what would happen just one day later. Don't you think that if Carly was experiencing an active psychotic break, her therapist would recognize it? Like I said, active psychosis, like what the defense is claiming Carly may have been experiencing, isn't something that someone can just casually be experiencing without there being blaring red flags. That even if common people like her mom and stepdad, or you and I might miss, a trained professional like her therapist should be able to spot it. But her therapist says that she seemed completely normal that day and that they had even worked on conflict resolution. I mean, I know nobody's perfect, but the idea that her therapist completely missed a psychotic break seems like a stretch to me.
So what did the prosecution have to say?
Well, they weren't so focused on the why. To plead insanity is to basically say you were so mentally out of it that you didn't know right from wrong at the time, and either were unaware of your actions or unaware of the wrongness of your actions. To keep it simple, the prosecution argued that Carly was fully aware of what she was doing and the wrongness of what she was doing. They bring in her therapist, Rebecca Kirk, to testify, as well as her psychiatrist, Olivia Leber, both of which state Carly told them she did not hear voices. She wasn't homicidal or suicidal, and the only real issue she was having was the depression, which Dr. Leber noted was not chronic. Closing arguments, the prosecution closes with the facts of the case. That Carly shot her mother to death, that she hid the kitchen camera and attempted to kill her stepdad, that she knew exactly what she was doing that day, and that she should be found guilty on all charges. The defense closes with a quote from Oscar Wilde: "The truth is rarely pure and never simple," and that Carly was having an episode of psychosis and acute stress, and that she lost herself in what was a perfect storm. The defense ends by asking the jury to find Carly not guilty by reason of insanity. So now, with everything laid out, let's answer our original question. Why did Carly Gregg kill her mother? And I do have to preface this by saying, hey, feel free to agree with me in the comments, civilly, and feel free to add things that I didn't mention in this video, because obviously I'm trying to be a bit more concise here, but there's things I didn't mention, so feel free to add your own thoughts in the comment section below. Love a little healthy discussion, a little banter back and forth. Oh god, I should cut that. Sorry, I'm serious. I think Carly wanted to be bad. Wait, hold up. Listen, everyone listen, wait, okay, let me finish. I think Carly had issues for sure, obviously, but nothing particularly uncommon for a girl her age. I mean, let's run it back. She experienced depression, and these are just the things that we can confirm because the psychosis, things like that. Hey, the jury didn't believe her, and neither do I really. Hey. She wasn't experiencing anything particularly uncommon for a girl her age. I think she wanted to be cool for her friends at school, but what's less cool? What could possibly be less cool than mommy working down the hall as a math teacher? Carly was getting high. She had burner phones that she would use when her parents took her phone away. And she had this image she wanted to maintain with her friends. I say this because imagine you're 14, okay? And your friend texts you on Discord or iMessage or whatever. Your friend texts you and says, "Are you squeamish around dead bodies?" And then invites you to come over to their house and see their mom's dead body, presumably their mom that they just killed. Would you go? Would you go to your friend's house after your friend just told you that they murdered their mom and asked if you wanted to see their body? I personally would not. Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, don't tell me anything like that. I will be on the phone with 911 immediately. I'm a snitch. I will snitch all day long, because no, you're not going to tell me that you just killed your mom and I'm going to come over to see your body. No, I'm calling someone. I don't know. That's crazy to me. Carly clearly had friends who weren't exactly scared of darkness, and I think it probably bothered Carly that her mom didn't fit the reputation that she wanted to keep with her peers. Think about it like this. When you think of a very mentally ill, disturbed person, you typically imagine their home life to be pretty turbulent, no? Ashley Smylie wasn't abusive, though. She was a loving, caring mother, and everyone knew that because she was also Mrs. Smylie, the kind math teacher down the hall. I think her mom finding out about the vapes was just the excuse that Carly needed to finally act. I think she liked the idea of being able to show her friends how bad she was. Hence why she invited one of her friends over to see her mom's dead body. I also think that when she wrote in her journal that "I think I'm having a psychotic break," she was egging herself on, making herself believe that she had bigger problems than she did because she wanted the image of being troubled, of being dangerous. I think she was very aware of how dangerous her mindset was, and instead of using the help that was offered to her, she had a therapist, a psychiatrist too, I'm pretty sure as well. Like, she was trying different medications. She had a loving family, okay? She had resources offered to her, and instead of using those resources, she chose to slip further into the darkness Because let's face it, the worst thing that we're aware of that happened to Carly Gregg was her parents divorcing, which 50% of the kids in the US experience. Mental illness doesn't run in her family as far as I'm aware, and even if it had, she had the resources to get help, which a lot of people don't get. A lot of people don't get the opportunity to talk to a therapist, to get on medication, to explore what it is that's really like weighing on them. A lot of people never get the opportunity, and she had it. Carly Gregg was found guilty on all charges and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So, as of today, Carly Gregg is still being kept at the Youthful Offender Facility in Pearl, Mississippi, and will spend the rest of her life behind bars.